So 2020 was an unprecedented year.
Yeah.
A lot of people lost their lives, a lot of businesses shut down, and I feel like the small businesses were not left out. And we were not prepared for 2020. And 2020 is over, this is 2021. Are there things that we still need to be doing as small businesses to ensure that we not only stay afloat, but that we start even seeing profits coming? And so I thought I was going to do a vlog about it, and I have a wonderful person with me today, Yvann Karamoko. I have been in his training and it's been amazing, and he not just studied about business, he also owns a couple of businesses, and I was just so excited that we have him here today.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I love business. I am originally from the Ivory Coast. I think she mentioned a little bit. I won't give you all the best country in Africa. I'm just going to throw that out there.
No. Please put in the comments section Ivory Coast or Nigeria.
I'm going to need you people from Cote d'Ivoire to show up in this comment section. I'll be sharing, so my people will be in there. But I've gotten the opportunity and the pleasure to grow up in the States. I have been an entrepreneur since I was probably, I think it was 16.
Wow.
And it's just been an amazing journey. And so I love all things business, all things marketplace, all things finding ways to provide value at a profit, of course.
Profit is good.
So yeah, I'm glad to be here. I'm excited
Thank you for coming.
Embark on this conversation.
Yeah, so let's get right into it.
Okay, let's go.
I was just thinking, okay, what are 5 things, if you were going to just narrow it down, 5 things that every small business needs to be doing now, because it's literally a do or die affair right now. You either step in or your business is going to fizzle out.
Yeah.
Okay, go.
So let me say this beforehand. If you are a small business owner, what you do is important. Let me say that. A lot of times we look at the big corporations and we go, man, like those are the guys doing it. But in reality, if you look at even the world economy, we're supported by the small business owners and the small businesses.
Yes.
So if you are a small business owner, I really just wanted to say, keep doing what you're doing. What you're doing is important. It matters, not just for the economy, but for the people that you employ, for the people that you serve.
That's so
Anyways,
good.
so one of the things that I was thinking about that 2020 really taught us, especially for small businesses, is this idea that the greatest ability that we have is our ability to adapt, right?
Wow.
Adaptability. Because things were happening and things were changing just right off the bat.
Yes.
And it was just like you barely had enough time to make changes, make decisions before you found out, oh, you weren't able to open, or you weren't able to have more than a certain amount of people in your establishment. So adaptability is a big one. You know, I think of Netflix, right? So a lot of times we talk about Netflix when we talk about they're the blockbuster killer. You know, they slayed the giant. They're like the David.
They did, yeah.
But Blockbuster just recently showed me a really good lesson on adaptability. So as Netflix came to the scene and provided online streaming content, they were basically giving us all of the shows and all of the movies that the big TV networks deemed as not good, or that no one wanted to watch. You know, I think of The Office, you know.
The Office, yes.
No one was making money off of The Office, and they just put it on there, and it became one of the reasons why many people actually ended up being on Netflix. And they did something that I think made all the other networks realize, excuse me, this content is actually good. So then you saw Disney, you saw the Hulus come up, you saw HBO Max become all of them created their own Peacock recently, which now has The Office. And we had to get Peacock because it was a thing. But as the climate shifted and as people spent more time at home, I think all these networks decided that we need to have this content for ourselves. But that didn't put Netflix out of business, and they adapted really quickly and actually realized that because they already had the customer base, all they had to do was figure out a way to provide their own content. So they started buying series, they started buying movies.
Yes.
And having them as Netflix originals, and many of them are great series and great movies that filmmakers, content creators made that was readily available. And so their ability to adapt allows them to continue doing what they're doing. And so I think that's the same for small businesses. Looking at how is it that we adapt to the ever-changing, because here's the thing, the only constant is change.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So things are going to continue to change. Nothing ever stays the same. So the more as a business leader, as a business owner, that people can be thinking of how do we shift our strategy as things move, makes it easier when things change drastically.
Yeah, and I think I love that you talked about adaptability. I was looking at the documentary sometime last year during the pandemic, and it was looking at a couple of New York restaurants and how they were able to adapt when they had to shut down. And so what they would do would be they would go on live and people would order food, and everyone literally comes on live at the same time having the dinner, and they had like music, and even looking at artists who started doing like the online
Concerts?
show. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
from home,
So
yeah.
I think adaptability could be even the smallest things. It doesn't have to be like super big. It could be just a slight change in like a can I offer this, in a different kind of way? Can I make a call instead of like send an email? Can I send emails now? Can I I think it could be even the smallest thing. It could even be opening a TikTok account. I don't know, but yeah. That's good.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then that I think goes into the second thing that I would say, which is resourcefulness, right? We say this term a lot, all you have is all you need, right?
Yes.
And one of the biggest things is obviously you want to shift and adapt and do that. But on the other side, looking at where are you wasting money?
Wow.
What are the things that you are doing that you don't necessarily need to be doing, but because all the conditions are good, you just keep doing them? Where can you cut? Because one of the things that the pandemic forced many businesses to do was cut as much as possible so that they could survive. It was kind of like throwing the things that you don't need overboard if you get stuck on a ship in the middle of a storm. But really looking at, are you using the resources that you have to the level that they can be used, and where is the waste, and figuring out how to eliminate the waste. There is a popular kind of productivity technique or ideology, if I can say that, called Kaizen, which is really focused on how do we eliminate waste and improve incrementally. And I think obviously it needs to happen in times where there's a pandemic, but I would really say for a business to continue to thrive, that needs to happen on a regular basis. So it's almost like 2020 has forced us to look at the basics and go, okay, where are we doing it right? Where are we not? Does that make sense?
It does. And there was I had a client a couple of years back. They had this thing called the lean mean fighting machine, and it's basically the same concept of what you're saying, that hey, if we actually sit down and look inwards, we might find that there are actually a lot of areas where we are, do I need to actually spend on this? Do I need that extra person? Can I do A, B, C, D, E instead of outsourcing it to 3 people? Can I love, look at just Shipped, a lot of like new delivery companies that have literally come up. And I remember a friend of mine had a company that used to do deliveries for what the products that she was offering. And she's like, I have about 5 different delivery cars. Why don't I even start like a delivery thing? And so for her, 2020 was really when we saw the boom in like delivery businesses and stuff like that. And she's like, hey, I'm spending a lot of gas and resources paying these guys. So can I make this a unit that is self-sufficient to where we can actually start doing some of these things? Or, hey, do I need to even outsource this to someone else? And I think personally, even in my life, I had to sit down and be like, okay, that subscription, we don't need it. We don't need that. We just zip it. We're still in the process.
I think it applies even, because even as I was saying that, I was thinking of all the things that we looked in our own budget and went, man, do we really need this? Do we really need that? Because in reality, in good times, you can afford to do that. But as you start seeing that not everything doesn't stay good all the time.
Yes.
And obviously in personal lives, it's a little bit easier to cut and move and do things. But for a business that is probably more of it's a bigger ship to turn, it requires a little bit more. And so looking at it on a consistent basis, whether it's once a quarter or once a year, whatever it is, allows you to kind of keep the fat off. You know what I mean? Like if you're looking at like, how do we keep like that lean business machine that you were just talking about? How do you keep it lean? How do you keep, you know, so.
That's so good. Just like Charleston's, you know, they said so they have the best bread pudding in Tulsa.
Yeah.
But the ingredients became so expensive, so Charleston taking it off the menu and will only offer it if they can get the ingredients. And so it's a whole thing of like, hey, do you guys have bread pudding? Can you reserve it for me? I'm coming down to grab it. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Okay,
that's good.
Yeah, that's so good. What's the other thing?
Connectivity. And not just, I think one of the, like you gave the example of the business that would go on live and find a way to provide food to people that they were already connected to. I think it's now more and more important for businesses to really realize who it is that they are serving and how it is that they can stay connected to them, right? Which obviously I think the first part of that is realizing that a lot of business is moving or has moved online, right?
Yes.
So really establishing where is your presence online. But not just looking at social media, but if you couldn't get on Facebook or on Instagram, on TikTok, could you still communicate with your customers?
Wow, okay.
It's a really good question because none of those platforms are guaranteed to stay around forever.
Very true.
So if obviously I know that this is an unlikely thing, but if all of them were to go out of business.
Or your account was deleted.
Or hacked.
Or hacked, exactly.
Would you still be able to communicate with your customers, especially in a time where no one could leave their house?
Wow.
So figuring out how do you build lists and databases of your customers, not just for the sake of marketing to them necessarily, but to be able to be connected beyond just the transaction, if that makes sense. And then also, I think one of the things that many businesses fail to do is really identify who it is that they're serving, right? Okay. So I think generally a small business would go, well, we're open to anyone. Like if it's a restaurant, if you like to eat food, we're open to you. But there's usually a specific group of people. There are specific segments of people that you are trying to serve, and really figuring out who are those people and then how do we get connected to those people. Yes. So on both ends of connectivity with the people that you're currently serving and then connectivity with people that you're not serving yet.
And I think like what you said about not just like connecting to them from marketing point of views, because I feel like more than ever people are willing to get content and as small businesses, we get so focused on sales and profits that usually our only connection with the customers is to try and push them to get something or response to them wanting to get something. So for example, if say I sold household stuff, I can actually, let's say it's an email list or it's even a text message, hey, send something out about, let's say it's bug season. Hey, how do you keep up with bug season? Or, you know, how do you make the best pie? You know, things like that are not particularly saying, hey, I want to sell something to you, but things that keep you like the top of mind awareness and recall with the customers. Yeah. But having like that emotional connection, I think ministries have done an amazing job. I remember I was at it wasn't a conference. It was online it was an online conference last year. And this popular pastor is like, listen guys, I want to send you a text. You can send me a text. I just need you to send a text. This is my personal phone number. I am responding to your messages now. Send me a text. And then thousands of people are shooting text messages. Of course, he probably has a second number, but they're able to get responses. Now, till today, if you need prayer, you can literally shoot a text and get a response.
Yeah.
And I think every week they do send out like encouragement messages and, you know, stuff like that. Hey, how are you doing? Just checking up on you. Hey, are you up at night? Do you need prayer? Like stuff like that. And I think it just creates an emotional connection with your customers. And so there's also that avenue of, you know, keeping up with them. And I would say if you're a small business and you're not taking advantage of database, you need to start doing it now.
Yeah.
Whether it's phone numbers, whether it's email lists, you don't need to keep them and dump them. You need to make sure that there's something that you're doing with that, because that is like gold.
Yeah, it is. And, you know, even as you were saying that, I think a big question to ask is, how do I provide value beyond the product or the service that I'm offering? That's a really good question to answer. Yeah.
That's good. How do I provide value beyond that? I'm gonna write that down.
That's good.
Okay, what's the next thing?
The next thing was anticipatory leadership. Yeah, the ability to anticipate what's coming. Now, here's the crazy thing. None of us know what's coming tomorrow.
True.
And I say that on one end, none of us know. On the other end, we can imagine what could happen. I think one of the things that many of us didn't think of before was that there would be a time where the world would literally be shut down in our lifetimes.
Shut down.
But now that it's happened, right, business owners, small business owners all over, leaders really need to start looking at, okay, if this was something that happened, what else can happen in the world today that would cause, whether it's our business to temporarily be shut down, whether it's the world to for a period of time not be open, what else can happen that would hinder our processes, and what would we do in case that happened? Almost starting to plan ahead, not for doom to happen, but to almost start creating plans in case something happens. Because it's one thing to go, like for example, today, if we had another global pandemic, I think most business owners would go, oh, we already know what to do.
Yeah, we know what to do, yeah.
We gotta move this, do this, do that, do this. Okay, so it's almost taking the time to really get with, whether it's your leadership team or whoever, and to really think through, what are the possibilities of things that could hinder us, and how would we respond? You may not have to necessarily create anything, but if your response is already ready, when that thing happens, or when something like that thing happens, you already know what to do.
Yes.
Whether it's a natural disaster, whether it's an economic shutdown, whatever it is, one of the things I think we've all come to realize is the world is pretty fragile.
It's so fragile.
Life as we know it is pretty, when we had to sit home and just be confined to our houses, it's like, who would have thought that would be a thing? You almost watch it in movies.
Like a movie. It is a movie.
You watch it in movies and you go, oh, in fact, that's a really good thing. Hollywood, somehow they know these things. So watch the movies
movies
and of the random world events that you see in movies and go, wow, that's crazy. I can't believe that would happen. And then ask yourself, it's maybe a funny exercise, but ask yourself, how would your business survive if that happened?
Wow. That's so good. Yeah, because I'm like, we never ever would have thought that would be wearing masks. Like, it's so weird. Like, I see ads on TV and I see companies selling masks and selling all sorts of things, and I'm like, wow, like, if anyone had ever told me this was gonna happen, I would have been like, nah, it's not happening. And look at business, look at what happened with Zoom. Like, Facebook literally had to respond about 2-3 months down the line to come up with their own I don't know what it's called, Facebook something where it's kind of like Zoom. But Zoom was like way ahead of time, and everyone had to go to Zoom. I want to go to Zoom. And today, a lot of businesses have come up, you know, supporting that. And so it's necessary. It is scary, but it's something that we have to do, to just think like, what could happen and how do I respond? Yeah.
Yeah. Which that really leads to my next point with it, which is, and a lot of these you may go, man, these are really simple, but I think one of the things we realize is it's almost great to get the basics right. Because the next thing that I really want to talk about is like a commitment to excellence. Okay. Now, that sounds broad, but for each business, whether you have a restaurant, whether you have a B2B business, there is, what does excellence look like? So with Zoom, for example, okay, Zoom has been, I mean, very few people even knew of Zoom before 2020, Zoom. Right?
I had no idea.
Like, unless you had to use video conferencing on a regular basis, you didn't know what Zoom was.
Yes.
And they have been working strategically, crafting their product and making it better and working on it for it to be excellent. Because if it wasn't excellent, the whole world wouldn't have jumped on it.
Yes.
So how is it that you can tweak and make what you provide better? And it may seem like you're doing it at a scale that is smaller than you even envision. And that's okay, because since Zoom started, they were doing it at a scale that they probably envisioned the whole world needs to be using our system. And what this pandemic did is it put them in the forefront of going, they have been building this amazing platform all these years and stayed consistent with it to the point where when it was needed, they were able to provide it.
And it was still good. When they provided it, was good.
Exactly. And that's the big thing. At the time when it's your opportunity to be in front of the masses, or to sell to the masses, or to provide what you provide to the masses, at that point, there's no more time for preparation. There's no more time to make it better.
Yes.
It's out. And what you've done with it, how you've created it, how you've built it, is what everyone gets to experience. So will they experience it and come back to you, or will they experience it and write you off?
Or will somebody experience it and decide to do something better than what you already did, and then you lose out? Wow.
Exactly.
And I feel like even for like Africa, at least for my country, Nigeria, consistency is the biggest problem. Even with even infrastructure, roads, everything. Something like amazing comes up, and then all of a sudden you literally see quality drop till it goes to a very unbearable, disappointing, sad state. I think because you talked about resourcefulness, and I was thinking that as small business owners, we should not see cutting unnecessary corners as cutting quality, because quality is the one thing that should be consistent, and it should never like change. The quality should be quality all the time.
It's like people, right? If you think about it, if I know the kind of person you are, if I know your character, right, I know what I can expect from you. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And so in our own lives, we do that with people. The people that you trust, the people that you let in closest to you, the people that maybe, you love, but you leave a little bit, at arm's length. Why do we do that? Because of character.
True.
Businesses, it's the same thing with businesses. People know that I can go to this business, or I can go to this establishment, or I can get this product, and I know that I'm going to get what I paid for. If they don't get what they paid for, then the next time that they need that product or that service, they're looking for someone else to provide it to them. So
that's so true. And I think we need to start asking, like, why should that person come to my business and not go to the other person? Like, we talk a lot about personal assessment, honest assessment, and I think that even for our businesses, we need to do that and be honest. Like, why should they actually come to me instead of going to that other person? What is that unique thing that I have that makes me stand out? And am I honestly delivering the best that I can deliver for the customer? Or is it just because I think we focus again on initial business, but not realizing that the most important thing in a business is repeat purchase
Yep.
is the most important thing. And so if people come to you and they're like, I don't want to do that, then you really have gotten a lot of people. And we spend a lot of money on advertising.
Yeah,
and
customer
I feel like,
acquisition.
yes, and when I was working in advertising, it was frustrating because you'd have clients come to you and we do a whole advertising campaign, and then lots of customers come, and then what you see is complaints.
Yep.
And then we go into crisis management mode, and then they lose all of the clients that they got, and they go right back even worse off than they were before they started.
Yeah.
Okay, this has been amazing. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
And
thanks for having
just
me.
before we round up, is there like anything, what do you want to say, or like how do you want to like summarize everything that you've said?
Man, I think the big thing is I just feel to encourage, business owners and business leaders. What you are doing, I think I said this a little bit in the beginning, but what you are doing matters. So focus on making what you are doing better. If you make it better, then the people will demand that you get bigger. And I think that's the best way that you can grow. That's the best way that you can see success. And that's the best way that you can have even longevity in what you're providing.
Wow, that's so good. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yes, thank you so much. And thank you so much, guys, for watching. Remember to hit the subscribe and like button and the notification button. And until I see you next time, bye.
See ya.